Ritsas Tolvis. I'm Damien Halme, your guide to High Valyrian, the mother of all languages, featured on HBO's Game of Thrones.
Valyria munuengos nuihis isa.
This is lesson 13, or example sentences of Essos. If you've made it this far, you can tell the level of complexity behind Valyrian makes it a tricky language to learn. Even characters on the show have difficulties with some of the grammars.
Indari valisirisis, indari valentalosit gamuti edrepti.
And David J. Peterson himself has admitted to a mistranslation here and there. But in this video, we're going to take everything we've learned and try out a few practice sentences to see how all these painful rule sets come into play. Some of the constructions we've learned thus far make for more compact sentences than English. Let's try a few easy ones first. We'll pick apart the basic parts of speech and jot down the dictionary forms of the words translated to High Valyrian, and then we'll change the words to make a working Valyrian statement. Remember, for each example sentence, any adjectives have to match the number, case, and gender of the noun they modify. A quick note, I'm choosing to put adjectives after the noun, as you see the full endings this way. The sharp knife drinks the red blood. The sharp knife is the subject, drinks is the verb, and the red blood is the direct object, so both the noun and the adjective here have to be accusative. Egrikana anogrimelior mosus. The thin smoke cuts the round moon in the sky. The thin smoke is the subject, cuts is the verb, and the round moon is the direct object. But here we have in the sky, which is a prepositional phrase indicating location. Time to use the locative case. Orvar vasrior jedar hure grevenke nectos. The warm animal walks with her on the grass. The warm animal is the subject, walks is the verb, and then, whoa, two prepositional phrases. With her can be tackled with the commutative case, and on the grass with locative. Dignes pane, zigiome parmot decorubas. Now let's tackle a couple sentences with plurals. Remember, as nouns become plural, their adjectives follow suit. If the subject is plural, the verb also changes. The straight roads gather big stones. The straight roads is the subject. Gather is the verb, and big stones is the direct object. Your heart writes bad flower songs for girls. Your heart is the subject, but note the possessive pronouns almost always come before the noun they modify. Writes is the verb, bad flower songs is the direct object, and we know bad is an adjective. Here, flowers can be genitive. It doesn't mark possession in the case, it makes it songs of flowers, like Game of Thrones. And lastly, for girls is an indirect object, so that takes the dative form. Aoha brumia vaedri kubra rukloti rignoti bardus. The dirty dog likes dry bones. The dirty dog is the subject, likes is the verb, and dry bones is the direct object. Note that the Valyrian word for dirty, vaugenkus, is a root in the term dovaugedi, or unsullied. Jaus vaugenkis, ivi tisti rakas. Let's try a pockle or two. Pockles are interesting because despite all of them looking terrestrial with their ending ends, they retain the gender of the word that made them, so we need to remember their origin when translating these sentences. The difficult wind bothers the small wing. The difficult wind is the subject, bothers is the verb, and the small wing is the direct object. Here, wing is the pockle form of the solar noun tikos, or feather, so wing is solar too. Gelmio kopsa tikuni bikigenis. The beautiful horse runs in the deep forest. The beautiful horse is the subject, runs is the verb, and in the deep forest is another prepositional phrase handled by instrumental. Forest is the pockle for tree, or guese, so it's solar. Anelitsi guesine trume tacos. High mountains defend the wide land. High mountains is the subject, defend is the verb, and the wide lands is the direct object. Tegon means ground, and its pockle means land. Blena egliar tuuni dranye misis. Collectives aren't too common, but let's give it a go. Collectives follow the same rule as pockels. Whatever their origin word's gender, the collective inherits it. This can lead to some break in that pretty noun plus adjective sound synergy, but them's the breaks, kid. The fast wolves hunt the free village's people. The fast wolves is the subject, hunt is the verb, and the free village's people is the direct object. Careful here. These people belong to the free village, so village needs to be genitive to show possession of the populace, and free needs to attach and match village, not people. Village is terrestrial, stemming from the word for house, lenton. Zogliaderi lentondo daeriro e sarosa argusi. The strong army buys heavy helmets. The strong army is the subject, buys is the verb, and heavy helmets is the direct object. Army is solar, as it comes from the word for soldier, azantis. Azantir costovis gelti centisindis. The old ship is acquainted with the new enemy. The old ship is the subject. The verb's a bit tricky. It's is acquainted with. This is an easier verb in Latin-based languages, like Italian's conoscere, or the Spanish conocer. The new enemy is the direct object. Oddly, ship is the collective of the solar word for sailor, loctis. Logor uepis renuntiarlie redes. And just for kicks, do you remember how to use the aorist tense or give a command? Cold creeps like death. This looks pretty much like an English sentence, only flipped around in its syntax. Hai morgon, jorves tivis. And if you want to make somebody cry, tell them limas. Next lesson, we'll talk about a relatively easy aspect of High Valyrian, adverbs. Kirim você. Thank you so much for your comments, questions, likes, and subscriptions. Dothraki.org and Westeros.org are the places to be to nerd out about the series and the languages. Everybody watching, keep up the partying like it's 1999 when winter was coming. Go to Silas.